Estate Show. I'm your host, Christine Koenig, hosting today with
Brenda Wiley with Howard Hanna Ranch Realty. I didn't realize we were starting already.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. We have an amazing guest today. I'm so super excited. Please introduce all the goodness.
It's a real pleasure to be here. My name is Andy Landsman. I am a home energy consultant specializing in solar. I work for Sunrun.
I love that. So I will say, we all met at a Greenwood Lake Chamber event.
Very serious change.
I actually just met that night. So
Really?
for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, we had a winter soiree. So with everything that went on in Greenwood Lake towards the end of last year, on top of the holidays, we decided as a chamber, in lieu of the holiday party, that we would do a winter soiree, kind of like cabin fever, middle of January. And I have to say, we had like a really good turnout. There were a bunch of people that came on the earlier side, and then we had like a late crowd, and we played pool, and it was just a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and as chamber events are supposed to be, right? Not only was it nice to meet people on a social side of things, but also really kind of meet some people you haven't met before, talk about what they're doing, right? Like all the things chambers of commerce are supposed to be doing, and that's where I guess we all met Andy.
Yes,
it is. Yes. No. I got into the solar game about 6 months ago. And I'm always looking for new ways to get in touch with people. Obviously, Chamber of Commerce events are amazing. I was kidding before. While it was serious, it was a really nice, fun event.
Yeah, it's very chill. It's lax.
And it was really great to meet you, Brenda, and you, Christine. We talked a little bit about how solar is doing in Greenwood Lake, how it's doing across the country. Obviously, it's a very interesting time for green energy.
Yeah.
I think there's better days ahead, despite everything that's going on. I don't want to get too bogged down in the weeds of that.
Political.
Yeah, but it's I think home solar energy is actually beyond politics. We are America's green energy company. We do not belong to Democrats, Republicans, Independents. Whether you like him or not, Elon Musk was actually in on one of our board meetings a few months ago. So put it in perspective, it's beyond it. Energy independence appeals to everybody. Let's be real, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and I think cost savings too, right? So it's twofold. You've got the environmental, let's think of natural, other sources of energy, right? Other than oil and paying XYZ from other countries. Let's think what we can do here in the U.S. From an environmental and then also cost savings. That's something as I think when we're working with buyers that does come up, well, what are the costs, Can you talk to us a little bit about the different types of, for example, there's like the roof panels, and then I want to know more about if your house, the pitch of the roof can't sustain actually putting panels on.
Right.
What are the other options? Can't you get something like in the backyard or?
Right. So you're talking about the angle of the roof. So.
Yeah. So for example, my house is an arts and crafts. It's 115 years, 18 years old, something like that. And I cannot get solar panels.
Because the roof is actually very steep.
Yeah, I guess.
So I can't speak to every company. Most of what I know comes from Sunrun's methodology. We will install up to a 45-degree pitch for comp shingle roofs. If you have a standing seam metal roof, we'll only go to about 30 or 33%, depends on the state you're in. But we offer a way to whatever your roof pitch is. You can always do a ground mount. Is that what?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And we're up here in Orange County. As you get further north, there's a lot of people have a lot of space, and some people prefer a ground mount anyway. They don't want something on the roof.
On the roof.
I will caution you, it gets more expensive. You have to build that ground mount out of scratch, and you have to trench from wherever you're putting the ground mount to your house.
Oh, run that electric source.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those will be added expenses, but through the years of what you're going to save using solar energy, it may make a lot of sense.
Interesting.
Some people also have the other issue where the roof is actually totally flat, which if we're in a zone such as the Southwest where there's no snow at all, that can work. We will not install totally flat roofs. They have to be at least 3% of pitch.
Right, because of the ice damming and the snow.
Exactly.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's so I have solar panels on my home.
Oh, you do? I didn't know that.
And I've been working over the years to be to be conscious of my footprint of all sorts of things. So when I bought the house 12 years ago, solar orientation was super important to me. And my real estate agent, who I started with, by the way, ended with myself. We would be like, we'd show up and he'd see me whipping out my phone to see if I have a sort of southish facing something. He'd be like, all right, are we good? I'm like, we're good. Let's go in.
Yeah. I mean, what's the point of waste? You knew that was one of your goals. Yes. That was one of your objectives.
I know. I am the rare few that that was such a priority for me at the time. But we've had panels on our home. We have 28 panels for 12 years
on
now.
A perfectly south-facing flat.
It's not perfectly
roof.
south, but it's southish enough that I got
12 years.
Yeah.
So you're doing a lease? Do you do let's talk a little bit about the maintenance, because I've run into this with some clients.
Okay,
and
so our maintenance has been close to no maintenance. In the spring,
That tracks.
yeah, in the spring when it's like super polleny out, I may get my hose. If I look up and see that my black panels are green, I may just rinse them down, because any sort of interference from the sun to the panel reduces how well they're working, right? So if I want to optimize my solar performance in the spring, if I look up and all I see is yellow and green, I take 5 minutes of my time and I rinse them down.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really don't do anything. In terms of lifetime ups and downs, like what's gone wrong over 12 years, the only thing that we have had is we've needed to have our inverter replaced. We have 2 inverters, and one went down, then the second one went down. With the lease, they cover that. They came in and replaced it. So it's not necessarily the fastest process while they're going through that. But
When you lease, did you have a guaranteed number of kilowatt hours?
yes, I have a
per
correct.
year?
So when I don't make that, it's happened a few times where we haven't made what they guaranteed we would make, and I get a check back from them.
Right.
To cover that difference.
Just for the listener who knows nothing about solar, the greatest difference between owning and leasing from a production standpoint is when you own, they're your panels. Whatever you get is what you get. That's what you paid for. Usually, depending on what year you bought them, it may take between 10 and 15 years to get a real return on your investment. But at the end of your financing, or if you threw down, you'll never have to pay for your electric again, assuming you got a full 100% of what your consumption is. Right. With a lease, you're buying energy, so it's really you're swapping out a company such as Sunrun or whoever Christine used. I'm not sure.
SunPower at the time.
You're swapping us out for the traditional utility company in a way, right? We're coming to build a tiny power plant on your roof. We still own the power plant, but you buy energy from us at a lower rate.
That's a great analogy.
We're guaranteeing a certain number of kilowatt hours for your use at a certain rate, and I like to say we don't really sell solar panels. We sell control,
right?
Because O&R, Con Ed, who owns them, whatever traditional utility company you have, they can raise their rates as much as they and the government say is okay. They don't come to us and ask, hey, is it all right if we go 11% higher on delivery costs this year?
So you're kind of like a free agent, essentially. I mean,
yeah.
Now they have Orange and Rockland. The people have been talking about the utility bills. The delivery charges are through the roof. So everyone's like, "Oh, why has everything gone up?" And then I started to look at my bill analysis, which honestly I never do. I think I did it once because I was like, "Why does this seem higher than normal?" And I was talking to Grace Warren, who's also on the show, and she said that same thing, and that the delivery charges are.
I call it the $60 pizza.
Yeah, the $60 pizza.
If you call my pizza shop and I say, hey, this pizza's $20, that's pretty good, right? Reasonable at least.
Right.
But I show up and I say, oh, it's actually another $40 because I drove here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Con Ed, so O&R is owned by Con Ed.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So what would you do with that pizza, Brenda?
Well, I would I would feed it to the animals in the woods.
Yeah. I would throw it in my own face is what I would do.
I think we're taking a break.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break.
On that note.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
If I'm being too pitchy or anything, just
No.
tell me.
Okay, question from the listening audience.
Yes.
If somebody has solar in the house, it's been there for 20 years, eventually it's gonna have to go away. Do they have to take the whole roof down? Once they take the solar off and replace it, because it's not working anymore?
The solar panels are not working at all?
No, they didn't say it wasn't working, but does that happen? They say there's a 20-year life to these things.
It's more that they just produce less and less.
Yeah, so they're
They will
questioning-
degrade, like any battery or any
Right, but they want
electronic
to
use.
know, can they replace them? And when they do, they have to replace the roof at the same time?
Depends on
necessarily.
depends on if the roof needs to be replaced
Okay.
or not.
So one of the only added costs to a lease is if you do need to do roof work, you have to pay to uninstall and reinstall.
And
But
maybe
if
you
you're
can
good, if you're getting new panels anyway, then maybe that's a good time to get your roof done.
address that too,
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
We'll cover the downsides.
Oh, we should.
I don't even know if that's a downside. That
You figure your roof life is not lessened by having solar.
no. As a matter of fact, one of the interesting things is where the solar covers the roof for 20 years. You actually extend that roof life in those areas.
Yeah. Is Grace the one with the moving company?
No, that's my sister-in-law, JC. Grace was not at the event.
Oh.
Yeah, so
But her husband's an electrician.
yeah,
I remember your guy's name, Jonathan.
yeah.
I need his card again because he asked about passing on info about vets to work.
Oh, yeah.
Ross.
You might have cards out on the desk
Yeah,
there.
I'll find it. I went to look for it yesterday. I was like, it's somewhere on this desk. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got a 1-year-old and another on the way. So I'm like,
That calico cat. You're having another baby? Do you have having a boy or a girl?
girl. Bounce the force.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, so the 1-year-old's a boy?
Yeah.
Balance.
Yeah, that's good. That's
I
enough.
have a 17-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter.
Oh, awesome.
And welcome back. You're listening to the Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Brenda Wiley, with Howard Hanna Branch Realty. And I'm here today with
Christine Koenig with Keller Williams, licensed in New York and New Jersey. And we have a fabulous guest today.
Andy Landsman from Sunrun Solar, available in New York, New Jersey, and many other states.
I love that. By the way, one of the things we really love to do is tell people how to get in touch with us.
Yes.
So if you guys have questions for us or for Andy, you can reach out to us at 845-651-1110 or shoot us a text at 845-328-0886. All right, so why don't we start from the very beginning, right? If someone is interested in solar on their home, why don't we talk through what does that process look like in case someone's sort of wondering?
Well, obviously, you're going to go to gosunrun.com/Andy Landsman, get in touch with me directly so I can be your consultation. All consultations are free, of course.
Yep.
If you want to do your own independent research, there's a ton out there. I would say there's a lot of misinformation and half-truths. It is a bit of a Wild Westy industry. It's still pretty new. I mean, solar itself the technology is actually older than people think. The first solar panel was invented in the late 1800s. But as a mainstream, something available to the average homeowner, we're talking 20, 25 years. Our company's been around for 18 years. We are the first company to be there through the end of a lease.
Right.
When we started, we were offering a 15-year lease. So in 2022, people ended those. Most of them upgraded their panels or renewed their lease. Some of them bought it out, and maybe one or two removed them at no charge. Those are the 4 things that can happen at the end of a lease. But nowadays, we're offering a 25-year lease, which is really to protect people from whatever traditional utility companies would like to do. They're still looking to make their money in those delivery costs that we mentioned before the break.
I feel like Sunrun's kind of like, I mean, in my experience anyway, in Orange County with buying and selling, working with, sellers and buyers, I feel like Sunrun really does have kind of the lion's share of the solar panels. Am I right on that, or?
So there's about 5 million homeowners in America with solar. We've done 1 million of them.
Okay. Wow.
So if that's a lion's share,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
maybe yes.
Yeah.
900,000 of our million have chosen to lease. And the biggest question I get when people are considering a lease is, oh, what if I sell my house? And I know there's scenarios, we talked at that soiree about a scenario where someone had a really difficult time selling their home that had solar on it. You do want to be careful, whether you're going with Sunrun or any other company, make sure you understand the terms.
Yes.
Sunrun is the only company that I know of that has an in-house team devoted to transfers. So when you're ready to sell your house, you let us know, or you get your real estate agent to let us know, and we have a team that's going to be dedicated to responding to that specific scenario.
Yeah.
I think that I've sold one home that had solar on it, but I've worked with buyers on 4 different occasions where we bought a home that had solar on it. And 3 of those 4 times was a very smooth process. One of those times was a little less smooth, but not on the provider side, right? Like we were able to work through their process. It maybe added a week because of a delay in requesting some paperwork. One of our problems, what we were talking about, is sometimes some of the leases have different terms, right? Sometimes the older leases, it was a flat rate for 20 years, right? Other leases and today's leases have something called like an escalator, which means every year over the course of the 20 years, you pay a little bit more, to keep up with the rate of inflation and stuff like that.
Right.
They kind of build that in. However, in this one case, the economics of where they were in the lease versus what the cost of electricity is today did not make sense for our buyers to buy out the lease. And, they have to agree to buy it. You have to look at the terms. You should have someone who understands a lease, review it for you.
This is the 2 cents a year escalator?
Yes.
So that's, agreeing to raise your rate 2 cents a year is bad.
Right.
Even if you're starting down at 12 cents, in fact, it's worse then, because then you're raising almost 20%. The escalation is 20% the first year, and it goes down percentage-wise a little bit. But for instance, the Sunrun escalation is 2.99%,
Right.
which is kind of average for inflation.
Right.
When you compare that to what utility companies have done historically, it should work out very well over time. Historically, utility companies have been going up minimum 4% a year.
Right.
So that's the kind of term you want to make sure you're understanding.
Yes. And so we ended up having to negotiate a credit back to our buyers to get them to take over that financial responsibility.
So they still bought the house.
They did still buy the house. We were able to demonstrate why this was a not good deal for our buyers. What we were asking for in order to move forward to kind of stabilize that lease based on production and what they would be willing to pay per kilowatt hour. We kind of ran the numbers for what was left in the lease to pay out, and we credited a reasonable chunk of money back to our people at closing so that they would be able to do that.
Who caught that? I mean, was it, did you?
Oh, I did.
Okay.
But only because I used to sell solar, and so I'm super familiar.
What?
What? Yes, I was an Alex.
I had
with
no
Andy
idea.
for a while. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just familiar with those leases, and so I always look at them for my clients and make sure when they're buying something that they understand what they're buying.
And by the way, this might be very more common going forward. I think there's a lot of crossover between solar and real estate.
Yeah.
But in the future, I think every real estate office might have a solar specialist in office. I mean, it's just the way things are going. More and more homes.
Or more
are having it.
education on it for the
Yes.
agents to understand, because
And by the way, if there are any real estate agents out there that want someone to come and speak to this directly to their whole team, I am available. Please get in touch.
Yeah, I think, well, it's important. I mean, it is an educational thing. And a lot of times, especially as real estate agents, like, it's on the job learning. It's like, what? This is one I haven't experienced. And I feel like there are no 2 deals are the same. But when you add that solar panel, whether you're on the buy side or you're as a listing agent, there's pros and cons that, I've experienced, that my clients have experienced. I recently had 3 deals all with solar panels. 1 was a listing, 2 was on the buy side. And unfortunately, the agent who is not from the area, not only was it not disclosed in the listing at all, obviously we could see the panels, but I didn't think really anything of it, and my clients didn't think anything of it. And then the appraiser came, and the appraiser called me as he was leaving in his really cool Tesla, and he was like, yeah, so what's the deal with the panels? And I was like, what? Like I missed, and I'm so thorough, but I knew they were there, but it just didn't, because I start with the listing. It was just like a misfire. And then I called the agent, and she was like, oh, it's okay. they're just going to pay them off before closing. And I'm like, well, that's not really how it works. Like, there's got to be an agreement. My clients are going to have to like review the details of whatever that agreement is. If your client is going to buy out what's left over, and she's like, well, it's a loan, not a lease. And I'm like, I could you check with them and find out? And she was like, well, I don't understand why this is such a big deal. That was the, and I was like, oh,
it's not a big deal if they're clear about it up front, right?
They weren't. We lost.
That's the, yeah.
And then it gets better. We lost 5 weeks. Do you know the accepted offer was like in the late summer? Then we got into Labor Day. This solar panel stuff took so long. It got to the point where my client said, can you please winterize your swimming pool? Because, and they were like, well, we didn't think this was going to take so long. So they're not going to, I said, no. You are going to winterize it because my client chose the option that's going to have your people spend $7,000 less. So you are going to winterize the pool because, you know, there were 2 options basically. But again, that's why you want to have, you know, a professional licensed real estate agent in your corner, you know, especially nowadays. Like you just want to know what you're getting into, but it's also the what's coming down the road.
What's coming down the road. And we did have a question from the audience about what's coming down the road in terms of the actual use of the panels over time. To be clear, panels, like any machine, will degrade over time. So another, for me, a pro for leasing versus buying is it's expected that the life of a panel starts to degrade around year 20. By year 25, 30, you're looking at 87, 88% efficiency. So again, if you own those things, that's part of what you've owned.
Right.
And if the system you put in place in the year 2000 covered all of your usage and your usage didn't change, then by today, you would need 13% of your energy from the traditional utility again, right? When you're leasing, all that doesn't get affected at all because you're not purchasing panels, you're not paying for panels, you're paying for energy produced by a system designed and maintained, warranted, insured by your company, hopefully someone.
Yeah. So lease does, I feel like, seem like the better option.
So, but when I was looking at it, I did feel like the lease was the better option for me because I didn't want the headache of having to worry about, if my inverter goes, that's another $4,000 I have to invest in my system. And right, like there are ongoing maintenance costs. You know, I do feel like as time has moved on, panel prices have come down, so you can build a system for less. And so maybe it does make more sense than it did then. Like, I feel like purchasing versus leasing is a different, there's like a little bit of a different economics of it now than when I put them in, 12 years ago.
And it's a fluid, if you have the perfect south-facing roof where you can get all of your usage covered by 8 to 10 panels, it's rare in the Northeast because we have weather, we have winter, there are going to be a week or two every winter where the snow will be affecting your usage. Because snow will melt and fall off within a few days. But again, when you own it, missing out those days is on you.
Well, and I mean, whether you own it or lease it, you are looking really at a yearly production, right? Because I think that when you own, you can still net meter, and so in the spring and in the summer, you're producing more than your house can use, and in the winter, you're producing less. I mean, you have the sun comes in at such a low angle. Even if we had 30 days of beautiful weather, you're definitely going to be producing 60% less solar in those months, no matter what. That's just the reality of the sun angle, right?
So what happens with all that excess, that gets stored?
Our resident solar expert, Christine here, she made a
showing up solar Andy over here.
Do you know what net metering is?
I mean, I can deduce that it means that whatever the credit is goes to the, balance.
Goes to the grid.
Usage.
So basically, the grid becomes a bank for any excess energy that you produce.
Got it.
Most of your solar energy is going to be, especially in the Northeast, produced between April and September, way over 50% during those 6 months. Already in California, there's companies that are giving you less of a return than what you're putting in. So you're putting in 1,000 extra kilowatt hours in July, you're only getting 500, maybe 250 back. That's called net metering 3.0. We're still on net metering 2.0 in New York and New Jersey, where you're getting a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's a for that reason alone, it's a really great time to still to get into solar before things, what happens out there in 2020 may happen here by 2030.
So I have a question about the snow. Can people clear the snow off the panels, or is that, I guess, like, what about damage?
It's not
Can they get
recommended.
scratched? Right.
I mean, it's, you can get one of those very long
Like squeegee.
brushes you would have to use on a Mack truck during the snow. Something
I
like
have
that.
one. We've never used it.
We're going to take a quick break.
Oh, look at
We'll
that.
be back shortly. I always wondered about that because, when you're looking at the houses, you see all the snow, and I'm like, well, what happens with the energy? But I guess whatever was stored in the bank.
Yeah, we have a giant squeegee. I've never used it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't bother with it. It's designed to take care of itself, sort of.
Right. Oh, and when you guys in your algorithm for usage, you guys take into account average number of cloudy days, average number of snow days. Like that's all sort of built into the algorithm that makes prediction of how much solar you're going to need and how big a system to build. It's all kind of in there.
It's pretty crazy.
But let's talk about roofs a little bit when we get back. What else do you want to talk about?
Something more fun. I feel like we're getting bogged down. I mean, I'm an open book, really. Anything, we've covered a lot, actually.
I think the roof's important, and also like who gets the permit, because sometimes the companies will go, like then the building department has to come out and inspect. I had a whole situation with that in Warwick.
The permitting to
Install the
install a system.
Or so like let's say they're getting a whole new system, like the solar panel company is not going to put a whole new system on if the roof is in poor condition.
No.
So then
let's talk about
that's
roof
good.
condition and stuff when we come back.
I think that's good.
Because there are a couple of different, you guys have a couple of different options for that. Right?
Options.
For roofing,
Well, they're
helping out.
looking at you look at how the roof is. Sometimes people can build that into their lease. Sometimes people replace their roof beforehand. Right?
Yes. Oh, I can talk about that.
Yeah, just so people understand how about, I feel like there used to be a lot of people had to trim back trees or remove trees. I think those are the kinds of things.
Scope of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the Real Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Christine Koenig with Keller Williams, licensed in New York and New Jersey, hosting today with
Brenda Wiley, Howard Hanna Brand Realty.
And we have our fabulous guest.
Andy Landsman, Sunrun Solar. Pleasure to be here.
You know what? I do always like to take this time to let people know how they can get in touch with each of us individually in case you have real estate questions, real estate needs, solar questions, solar needs,
Cat rescue questions.
cat rescue, whatever. Anyway, you can reach out to me at listwithchrisk.com, and that will have all of my information, and that's Chris with a C.
You can go, Andy. It's you're up.
At Sunrun, each of us has our own personal URL. You can reach me at gosunrun.com/Andy Landsman.
And for me, you could text or call me on my cell, 914-522-9474, or just Google me. There's all kinds of stuff that
Oh
comes
yeah,
up there.
I'll give it myself.
Yeah, give out
that
yourself.
personal, please.
I'm a Cancer, and I love red wine.
You can also reach me at 845-206-3685.
It's true. I am a Cancer, and I do like red wine.
There we go.
I hear you. By the way, I had on a slightly social note, I got together with some high school friends, and it was like the first time I had a social thing in a while, and it was so lovely. And what a nice bottle of red wine we had. And
What was it? Do you remember?
I don't. It was a Zinfandel, but it was every once in a while you just have that thing that popped up out of nowhere. It wasn't planned. I wasn't looking forward to it. Right? It's like it's just like, hey, anyone want to come over? Yes, I do. Great. I'll bring a bottle. Great. I'll bring some, cheese and crackers. Great. Impromptu, fabulous, kind of fill your cup kind of evening.
Where was this?
My friend, these guys live down in Wanacue in New Jersey.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's good. It's always nice to catch up too, and then you don't feel like you're on your own little island.
Yeah.
Not that you are on your own little island, but that you have commonality.
feel that way.
Correct. I feel like this time of year you are on your own little island sometimes.
Yeah.
It's easy to get kind of trapped in the house.
And do you feel like, I know it's years now, but I think since the pandemic, like we're just starting to really like get back to that community, hangout thing again. It's been a tough couple of years for a lot of people, and I think it's really special when you have that, especially the impromptu. That's
Get
always
together,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this winter I've been ice skating a lot at Green Lake. I just crossed the street, up on my skates, and now the dogs are coming with me, and I'm like, oh yeah.
You gotta watch out for the snowmobilers.
Well, the snowmobilers are like it's kind of like skiing and the snow borders. They're like cut you off. But everybody kind of has their designated area, and like there's a few rinks around the lake that have been plowed and cleaned. Yes,
That's fun.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
This reminds me of a story of my father. My father grew up in Brooklyn in the 30s. He actually learned to ski on a hill in Prospect Park.
Oh wow!
And he said that there were two sides to the hill. The sledders had one side and the skiers had the other.
Yeah.
But by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the sledding side had gotten chewed up, and they would come and try to take the skier side. So this is Brooklyn.
Right? Yeah.
They had to throw down
Face off.
skiers versus sledders.
That's by the way, that is a super fun piece of history that you're never going to read about anywhere, right?
No.
Definitely not.
No. Exactly. I think we may have gotten a question. If you want to.
All right, I'm gonna look and see what we have here. All right, does your company only sell solar panels, or do you also rent to the customer from
solar fields?
I'm not sure if that's the correct. I'm guessing that's like community solar.
Yeah.
But it's where the customer can rent a solar panel to reduce their electric bill, but it's not actually installed on their property.
Correct. We specialize in residential home solar, so either for purchase or for lease. I think what you might be referring to is known as an ESCO, an energy service provider, that you would basically get the supply from while still getting it delivered by O&R or Con Ed or whoever, PSEG. Often that's a great way to go solar if you don't have the space on your own roof or just plain don't want them up there. I wouldn't say it's usually the most cost-effective way. Like I said before, the way most traditional utility companies are making their money is in the delivery. So if you're looking to save money, I would say look to your own roof.
Right.
Right.
But if you're looking to just get green and help out that way, switching to a solar field through your traditional utility company.
Are there a lot of solar fields around here? Like
There are.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Is that when I drive by? Like sometimes when
Yeah.
You can just look right there. There's one.
there's
There's one across the street
There's one
from the
across the
studio.
street.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh. So how does that work? So like what this person is saying.
I think so my understanding is that they're like privately owned solar fields. And sometimes like when they're building them, they may reach out to the local community to be like, hey, do you want to rent some panels from us? So instead of having them on the roof, they have them there. But they're a third-party company for profit, right? Like that's what you have to remember. They're for profit. So they're going to figure out the way to make it be slightly more beneficial for you, but even more beneficial for them.
For them too.
Right.
Right. Sure.
Again, read your contract. Make sure you understand how long your initial. I had a prospective customer for myself who was. I don't know if it was a solar ESCO or just a third party. There's a lot of different types of ESCOs. The third party supply, but I think he had been locked into a great year one rate, and then he was paying like double what he should have been paying to Con Ed normally.
Right.
So I'm working with him to get out of that, and he's going to end up going solar and saving a lot of money. So it'll balance out in the end. But I felt bad for this guy. He was a vet too. I was like, you can't be doing this to the people who serve us like this. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So we were going to chit chat a little bit. When you show up at someone's home, what are you looking for?
I am looking for. Well, usually I only show up at people's homes who've asked me to be there. So I'm looking
Solar
to
Andy's
discover.
out in the neighborhood again, knocking on doors.
There are door knockers, and there are days I'll knock. Usually, if somebody sets an appointment with me and then isn't there, I'll probably knock on a few doors around that neighborhood. Be, hey, do you know what's up with Jerry? Oh, do you want solar? No, I'm not the person who goes knocking every day, but I'm asking a few key questions. Is this your first time looking at solar? How's your bill? What what do you expect to get out of this? So I can speak exactly to what we can do in an actual way for you. And by the way, I don't show up with glass in my truck. A lot of people think you start talking to a solar person, they're going to shove something down your throat and put glass on your roof immediately. That's not how it works. It's a step-by-step process. Even what I do at the end of my first meeting, if you sign an agreement with me, you're not committing to anything really more than a home review. And I've had people use me just to get a free roof inspection. You know, it's a big part of it, because we were talking about this in one of the breaks about you know, the condition of the roof. We will not install solar, and I don't think any company worth their salt is going to install panels on a roof that needs to be worked on anytime soon. I'd say within 5 or even 10 years, because that's a liability. You know, the panels weigh about 30 to 40 pounds each themselves. So, you know, and furthermore, we're looking to create relationships with people where we're going to be there in a, you know, an agreement that lasts for 25 years. So it's on us as much as you to make sure that everything is working well. If you have a shoddy roof, hopefully you already know about it, but we're going to work with you to make sure that roof gets repaired before we even think about putting solar panels on it. And there are ways to work the costs into the agreement. Most companies offer some sort of assistance with the costs of a re-roof, or there are a few other things that can pop up during an inspection. You know, if you have a whole bunch of trees that are making your roof really, really shady, it's probably not worth it to go solar. If you have one tree that's directly to the south, that by cutting that one tree, you're going to create a system that produces all the energy you need, then it probably is worth it. Now, the cost of cutting that tree might be a couple $1,000s, depends how big the tree is and who you find to do it. Again, we might be able to help.
So, yep, I guess that's all part of that evaluation process.
Right.
Right. And so for someone who's thinking, I wonder if my house is a good fit for solar, you want to talk about solar orientation? What works, what doesn't?
Directionality, obviously, is the biggest. The sun rises in the east and is the highest in the south, to the south of your home, and sets in the west. So a north-facing roof is not the best. It can be workable, or you know, it can be part of the process, but you want as much southern-facing exposure as possible, and beyond that, east and west are also pretty good. You want a roof that's flat, not too many dormers or, you know, little chimneys or something. But this is the kind of thing that we're going to look at from a satellite image before we even show up to make sure it makes sense. And then during that home inspection, we look at all those things I just mentioned from a roof inspection, not just the condition of the roof, but how are the panes of your roof positioned towards the angles of the sun. We're going to look at your electrical panel, make sure it's up to code and not, you know, we've been in homes where we've saved people from potential fire hazards. You know, it's usually an upgrade of a panel is only a couple $100, so we're willing to cover that cost. But we're basically making sure your home is safe and ready, you know, that the rafters can support the weight of, you know, panels on your roof. And we want to make sure that everything works before we come and, you know, install several months down the road.
Yeah,
what about homeowner insurance policy? Are there any benefits to the homeowner with the insurance? You know, like, you know, energy credit or anything like that, or what are the insurance? You know, insurance is such a big thing, especially with all the storms and fires and all of that. Like, how does having solar panels either benefit, or does it cause a challenge sometimes?
As far as I know, your homeowner's insurance will not change because you've got solar panels on your roof. It certainly won't change for the worse. If you have a system that's covering, you know, the majority of your roof, it's actually protecting your roof from a lot of weather. So it may extend the life of your roof. If you have a really great insurance company that listens to you, you might negotiate, you know, lowering your rate because of that. I don't think anybody's actually going to do that.
Right.
But,
not in New York and New Jersey.
Pass. Yeah. But I will say my homeowner's insurance did not change one way or the other.
Okay.
And the solar leasing company takes out an insurance policy on the system, right? So it's really it is kind of, as you said, you do allow Sunrun to operate as your electric company, and they put that power plant on your roof, they're taking full responsibility for it. It's not your responsibility as a homeowner in any way.
So it's a separate insurance policy that the solar provider has, right?
If you lease.
If you
If
lease.
you own it, you have
you're
to
on
insure
your
it
own.
yourself. Correct. Yeah.
So we are going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
That's good. We got a good question from somebody, actually, and someone else. Yay!
What was I going to say? When we come back, I do want to chat a little bit about the Sugarloaf Community Foundation and our 45th anniversary gala, which is coming up
Oh, nice.
on March
When is that?
7th.
Oh, March 7th.
And it's, I'm trying to put a table, by the way, I'm trying to put a table together. I got 7 of my 10 people. So if you guys want to come, it's going to be food from
It's a Friday?
Cancun, whatever the 7th is.
So you're trying to put a table together
Yes.
for vending or
No,
to
for
sit?
tickets, to sit and enjoy the
Tickets.
event.
Okay.
So I got, they're going to have food from Cancun Inn and the Sugarloaf Tap House are donating food, beverages from either Apple Dave's or the Applewood Winery. We got a couple
much are the
people we're
tickets?
celebrating. If I get 10 people, $45 a head.
You did this last year, right?
No,
We're-
this is the first time I've...
Oh,
Oh, I did something for the vets,
no, that's what it
that
I'm thinking of.
organization. Yeah.
March 8th, I'm going to see Sebastian Maniscalco, whatever.
Oh,
He's
fun.
hysterical.
Yeah. Where's he?
We're gonna go to Newark. I'm not going to Barclays. Fuck that. Like even if
Newark is so easy. That's an easy in and out.
right, we'll go get some like Korean food or something in Newark, you know.
Oh my goodness, go definitely. I have a good restaurant for if you want just a regular restaurant, but also that like, oh, you don't do the meat thing, so
He does, but I can get it's a steakhouse. And welcome back. You're listening to the Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Brenda Wiley with Howard Hanna Ranch Realty. I'm here today with a couple of cool, exciting, cool cats.
I'm Christine Koenig with Keller Williams, licensed in New York and New Jersey.
Andy Landsman with Sunrun Solar, available in New York, New Jersey, and beyond.
Yep,
So quick thing. So I just said a couple of cool cats. So what song is in my head?
I don't know.
Okay, it's from the 80s.
Jeopardy?
Nope. Squeeze. She's cool for cats. Cool for... Remember that song?
I do remember that song.
Now it's going to be in everybody's head for the rest of the day.
Only if you were around in the 80s to know the
Man.
song.
Now it's probably like cool retro, you know. She's cool for cats. I'm going to have to play it with
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna laugh all day.
Cool for cats. Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember that song.
Oh, okay.
Cool for cats?
Yeah, cats. Squeeze.
Squeeze.
Anyhow, by the way, while we're talking non-solar items, just want to throw out there for anyone in the Sugarloaf, Chester, Warwick area, the Sugarloaf Community Foundation is hosting our 45th anniversary dinner event, kind of like a, I don't know, I don't want to call it a gala because it is not. It's a much more relaxed kind of a feeling. It's going to be at the Sugarloaf Performing Arts Center on March 7th. We are selling tickets, and tickets are $50 a piece. And we're going to have food provided by the Cancun Inn and the Sugarloaf Tap House. There's going to be some version of wine and spirits provided, a little bit of entertainment. We're going to have some kind of auction items that are unique and artsy craftsy, kind of
Nice.
tying into the nature of Sugarloaf, as well as giving out some, I guess, some awards for some of our long-term residents. So Nick Zingoli, Pete the Candlemaker. Those are
Oh, I love Pete the
you know,
Candlemaker.
some people from my sister's closet. So it's a nice time for
Does
us.
he know Bob the Butcher and Steve the Baker?
I don't.
Isn't that a rhyme?
Sally the seamstress.
Sally the
No.
seamstress.
That's awesome. Pete the Candlemaker. I
Pete the
want to meet this
Candlemaker.
guy.
Oh my God, he's amazing,
He's
and
really,
you
really
should
good.
and you should meet him.
We should work together. I mean, solar and candles, that's like,
Yeah, exactly.
you're covered.
How do people get? Yeah, exactly.
No,
We fully cover you.
Well, we got daytime, he's got nighttime.
Then you got the insurance guy. You're totally covered. Question, Christine.
Yes.
How do people get tickets to this event?
you can Google the Sugarloaf Community Foundation, and you buy tickets right there on our site.
Super. Well, I have a couple of events, but it's not till April, so Should I plug them?
I mean, you might as well.
Might as well. Yeah, so April 5th, actually the dance party that was supposed to be February 15th, it's a fundraiser for the Iron Horse Sanctuary. I mentioned it a few weeks ago. It got rescheduled due to weather. That is now going to be April 5th in Warwick from 2 to 5. Proceeds are going directly to the cats, the rescue cats and the barn cats at Iron Horse Sanctuary. I'm very excited about this. I'm very passionate about it, as you know. And then the Greenwood Lake Chamber of Commerce, they're having their spring mixer at Murphy's on Wednesday, April 2nd from 6 to 9. We're going to do a 50-50 tricky tray raffle, and we're doing a fishbowl survey. It's going to be a lot of fun. So.
What is a fishbowl survey?
So at our spring mixer, we started this tradition last year where we basically put together kind of like a mini survey of like a Q&A, like, hey, we're thinking about this workshop. How would you feel about a joint mixer opportunity with the West Milford Chamber of Commerce? We're thinking of doing a dance party the end of the summer on the beach. You know, would you be interested? Are there experiential learning workshops? What else can we as a chamber do to support
very nice.
our business? And it's great because we were able to actually apply from the survey last year, and we were able to do the social media workshop, which was really well attended. So lots of changes. I'm stoked for the dance party, and I want to do a wellness event too that I think will be pretty cool. So, yeah.
Listen, one of the things I love about our area is how active people are in our chambers and in our, community organizations. It's a great place to meet people, to know your business partners in the area, to understand and, align the mission and bring the most people in. And it's really fabulous how evolved everyone is.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's great. So
Good stuff.
that is good stuff.
So where did we leave off on solar? Did we talk about roofs and condition of
We
roof?
did.
We did. We talked about the trees and cutting those back.
Yeah, obviously we don't want to cut trees. We only
No.
do that in the situations that really makes sense.
If it's going to benefit. Yeah.
And if it makes sense financially.
Right.
I mean,
Of course.
I believe 2025 is the year of going green and getting green. It's the 4 Gs. I live by them. Sunrun. The mission of Sunrun is to create a planet run by the sun, but we understand that people don't want. People want to do things for the planet, but often can and will and can only do it if it makes sense for their wallet.
Right.
So
Right.
if you're curious at all, please get in touch with me. I can be a resource. I can really be happy to just be a consultant for you. Again, if I think it's not going to make sense for you, I'm not going to tell you to go solar.
Right. So question on that. I know that there, over the course of the past, 15 years or so, there have been various different credits, state credits, federal credits, things like that. Where are we at in the cycle of credits?
So New York State has what I would say is the cleanest and best of all state credits. Whether you own or whether you lease, you get a $5,000 tax benefit, which is a full credit.
Right.
What?
From the state.
From New York?
Yeah, New York State is paying people to go solar $5,000, even if they lease, even if you don't own.
I knew that was happening.
Right. I like to try to say to people when I hear about those credits, like, where else are you going to get someone to pay $5,000 of your bill? Like, if you think about how long that is in years, right? Like an average home, I mean, that's like 2.5 years of someone paying your electric bill for you.
Yeah.
And like,
That's a
In
no-brainer.
some cases,
That's a
it's
no-brainer.
5.
right. In some cases,
You have up to 5 years to use that $5,000. So if you have a solar system that only costs $100 a year, you're going to use $1,200 in the first year. It'll take you almost 5 years to use all $5,000.
Right.
This is the only state left with something that clean. New Jersey's is actually pretty good too. There's a it's called a REC. It used to be called an SREC. Now it's a TREC. It's funny that it's called a TREC.
I was thinking T-Rex.
Yeah, which of course makes you think of fossil fuels, but it's not. It's the opposite. It's a transitional residential energy credit, which basically means for every 1,000 kilowatt hours your system produces, you earn $91 for a residential home. Now, this is where it gets tricky. You get that credit if you own, not if you lease.
right.
You get that credit if you own. Okay.
But what Sunrun does is we take the credits that we get from owning a system and we bake them into the price of your lease. So you're actually still benefiting from those incentives, just in a different way. And it's slightly better to own a system in New Jersey than New York. When you own whatever state, you also get the federal tax credit, which is still available.
Yeah.
That's a 30% credit off of the entire cost of installation and of the panels themselves. This still means, however, that you have to pony up the entire, either finance or pony up the entire cost of installation ahead of time, and you won't get your tax credit till the next year. So there are benefits to owning. This is one of the biggest ones. But again, just think of it this way: let Sunrun take all the hassle.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure, they get the federal tax credit, or whoever. It doesn't have to be Sunrun. Please let it be Sunrun. But,
Andy-
let your
Andy
company
at Sunrun.
Andy Landsman at Sunrun help you.
Shameless plug.
But let that company bake that into their price for you and make sure that that price makes sense to you and all the terms. Does that company have a team dedicated to transferring your lease when you want to sell?
That's huge.
When you want to use Brenda or Christine to help you list your home with solar in the listing.
Yeah.
So I had a seller, 96 Minturn in Warwick, and they had their panels from Sunrun. And at the time when it was installed, they actually included all these, and I don't know if it was the company or the state, but the actual generator and like all the equipment was complete. He didn't have to pay for any of that. So it must have been some type of incentive at the time when it was installed. He basically
There were
did it.
better incentives before. Remember how we talked about net metering, net energy metering? We're right now in what I call 2.0. NEM 2.0, you're getting a 1-for-1 ratio.
Yeah.
It's still just energy. So if you have excess energy produced by your system at the end of the year, it rolls over into the next year as an energy credit.
Okay.
For 1 year.
10 years ago, you were getting paid.
Okay. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the best time to go solar is yesterday.
Yeah.
But
Sort of like the best time to buy a house.
yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's debatable.
I think there's a little more fluctuation in the real estate market.
Right.
But you want to make sure you're getting the best of what's available today. And we're still in a place in New York and New Jersey where you're getting 1,000 kilowatt hours for every 1,000 you put in.
Yeah. It's interesting too. I had a listing 6 Points of View that had solar panels, and my clients bought those panels. It was not a lease, and they had only been on for maybe a year or two, so they weren't too far into it, and they paid off the entire lease. Everything had been transferred over to the purchasers, and they're loving it. But it was a very, very old house, so the idea for some people, we lost some buyers that unfortunately didn't want to make an offer. They loved the house, but they couldn't get past the panels because it almost didn't flow with, this house was from the 1800s. It was an old horse barn. It has an original, the aesthetics. And then you've got these panels, but the company did a nice job in the way that they situated them. You
The
really
array was at least stylish.
yeah, they weren't just they weren't just thrown on there and they picked a color that would match but there were some buyers that, especially older homes, I love my older home. It doesn't necessarily jive.
Deep down, I'm with them.
Yeah.
Aesthetics is a tough thing to breach. And I know we're wrapping up here, but we'll bring it back to my dad one more time. He was an architect. He was actually a green focused architect.
Oh, wow.
50 years ago. Hated the look of panels.
Yeah.
Now, when he was alive, they were all the tic-tac-toe lines, the sort of light blue.
Right.
I think they're a little better now. They're sleek black, monotone, kind of just look like skylights.
Yeah.
Now, those will still be a weird juxtaposition with an 1800 style home, but I think we're
On that note,
Well, go solar, call Andy. Have a great week,
have
everybody.
a great week.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. Oh, it was fun.
That was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good because we actually have quite a few listeners, not just in the Hudson Valley. It goes out to Jersey, right?
Yeah, and down down to the city too now with the other station.
Yeah.
They own a second station in Parkland Plains, and
Okay.
so they rebroadcast our shows there as
Oh,
well.
amazing.
Oh, really?
We're in Nanuet, so it's not super fun.